Welcome to another edition of Old Guy Gaming Network presents Interesting Places to Visit in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So today, we are going to go visit the Uffington White Horse. The White Horse is a prehistoric hill figure that is approximately 110 meters long or 360 feet, formed from deep trenches filled within the crushed white chalk. The figure is situated in the upper slopes of White Horse Hill in the English civil parish of Uffington. The site is owned and managed by the National Trust and is a scheduled monument. For more than 3,000 years, the people from the area have been basically taking care of and maintaining this ancient piece of art. It is the longest continuously maintained ancient piece of work in the world today. The Uffington Horse is by far the oldest of the White Horse figures in Britain, and it is of entirely different design from the others that inspired it. The figure has long been presumed to date to the later prehistory, the Iron and the Bronze Age, from as early as 1000 BC to as much as 100 AD. It was dated approximately, or I was going to say it was dated in 1990 excavation led by Simon Palmer and David Mills of the Oxford Archaeological Unit. Deposits of fine silt removed from the horse's beak were scientifically dated to the late Bronze Age, sometime between 1380 BC and 550 BC. They also discovered the figure was cut into the hill up to a meter deep, not simply just scratched onto the surface. The medieval Welsh book, the Red Book of her guest, from 1375, had talked about the White Horse. It said near the town of Abington there's a mountain with a figure of a stallion upon it, and it is white. Nothing grows upon it. And here we have it coming into view right here. Now, Until late in the 19th century, the horse was scoured every 7 years as part of a more general local fair held on the hill. Francis Wise wrote in 1736, "The ceremony of scouring the horse from time immemorial was solemnized by the numerous concourse of people from the villages round about. After the work is done, a rural festival is held and sponsored by the lord of the manor. If regular cleaning is halted, the figure quickly becomes obscured. It has always needed frequent work for the figure to remain visible. Periodic scoring continues, organized by the National Trust. On chalking day, volunteers with hammers, buckets of chalk, and knee pads kneel and smash the chalk to a paste, whitening the path, cutting the grass inch by inch." Now, during the Second World War, the figure was easily recognizable from the air and was covered over with turf and hedge trimming so that leap-off pilots could not use it for navigation during bombing raids. It was uncovered after the war by Welsh archaeological professor William Francis Grimes. Now, it's been long debated whether the chalk figure was intended to represent a horse or some other animal, such as a dog or a saber-toothed cat. However, it has been called a horse as far back as the 11th century. The horse is thought to represent a tribal symbol, perhaps connected with the builders of Uffington Castle. It is similar to horses depicted on Celtic coinage, the currency of the pre-Romano-British population. Another theory proposed by the University of Southampton archaeologist Joshua Pollard points to the horse's alignment with the sun, particularly in midwinter when the sun appears to overtake the horse, to indicate that it was created as a depiction of a solar horse, reflecting mythological beliefs that the sun was carried across the sky on a horse or a chariot. Now, there's also a couple of nearby interesting features. I'll get to the castle in a minute, but this little hilltop right here is called Dragon Hill. Dragon Hill is a small hillock immediately below the Uffington White Horse. It is a natural chalk hill with an artificially flattened top, and according to legend, St. George slew the dragon here. A bare patch of chalk, upon which no grass will grow, is purported to be where the dragon's blood was spilled. It has been suggested that some sort of Iron Age ritual associated with the nearby hill figure. Now, Uffington Castle, that's this area right here, is an early Iron Age or even Bronze Age fort. It covers about 32,000 square meters and is surrounded by 2 earth banks separated by a ditch with an entrance to the western end. A second entrance in the eastern end was apparently blocked up a few centuries after it was built. The original defensive ditch was V-shaped, with a small box rampart in front and a larger one behind it. Timber posts stood on the ramparts. Later the ditch was deepened and the extra material dumped on top of the ramparts to increase their size. A parapet wall of Saracen stones lined the top of the innermost rampart. It is very close to the Uffington Horse on White Horse Hill. Now, excavations indicate that it was probably built between the 7th and 8th century BC and continued to be occupied through the Iron Age. Isolated post holes were found inside the fort, but no evidence of buildings. Pottery, loom weights, and animal bones finds suggest some form of occupation, however. The most activity appears to have been during the Roman period, as artifacts recovered from the upper fills of the ditch attest. The ramparts were remodeled to provide more entrances, and a shrine seems to have been built in the early 4th century AD. 2 oblong mounds, one containing 46 Romano-British burials and one containing 8 Saxon burials, lie nearby. Two ancient track passes by the northern entrance to the hill fort. It is known as the Ridgeway. It links the Ickneld Way and the Goring Gap. Passes close to Avonbury before heading south across the Salisbury Plain. It also passes very close to a Neolithic chambered long barrel. Wayland Smith is about a mile to the west. So let's go down a little lower and get a better look. So yeah, I mean, we've got a 3,000-year-old Bronze Age sculpture carved in the side of a mountain, or the side of a hill. I won't even call it a mountain. We've got a late Bronze Age, early Iron Age fort. And we even have a hill where St. George murdered or killed a dragon. Sounds like you could pack a picnic lunch and make a day out of this site. It's one thing that's kind of always fascinated me about England. You know, here in America, you know, we consider, you know, something that's 300 years old to be to be old. Oh, that's old. 300 years in England is still new. They barely got it out of the wrapper. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. You know, people have been maintaining that horse for 3,000 years. So with the Romans occupying the fort, they said they couldn't find any evidence of buildings in there. You know, I wonder if they used tents. You know, if this wasn't a long-term, meant to be a permanent fortification. We're just, somewhere where the legion would be temporarily while they pacified the local population. I can imagine the Romans there in their fort and the local population, all around, complaining about the Romans. And some guys saying, well, what have the Romans ever done for us? And some guy in the crowd kind of raises his hand and says, well, they did bring us the aqueduct. It's a Monty Python and the Life of Brian reference. So the legend of St. George and the Dragon tells of St. George, who died in 303. Doesn't say if that was AD or BC. Taming and slaying a dragon that demanded human sacrifices. The story goes that the dragon originally extorted tribute from the villagers, and when they ran out of livestock and trinkets for the dragon, they started giving up a human tribute once a year. Now this was acceptable to the villagers until a well-loved princess was chosen as the next offering. The saint thereupon rescued the princess chosen as the next offering. The narrative was first set in the Cappadocia in the earliest sources of 11th and 12th centuries, but transferred to Libya in the 13th century golden legend. The narrative has pre-Christian origins and is recorded in various saints' lives prior to its being attributed to St. George specifically. It was particularly attributed to St. Theodore Tyro in the 9th and 10th centuries and was first transferred to St. George in the 11th. The oldest known record of St. George slaying the dragon is found in a Georgian text of the 11th century. The legend and iconography spread rapidly through the Byzantine cultural sphere of the 12th century until it reached Western Christian traditions still in the 12th century via the Crusades. The Knights of the First Crusade believed that St. George, along with his fellow soldier saints Demetrius, Marius, and Theodore, had fought alongside them at Antioch and Jerusalem. Well, that concludes this episode of Interesting Places to Visit. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and comment below, and please subscribe. Until next time, everybody have a wonderful evening.